Yeah, the some of the challenges that we've seen is just like buying your first investment property. It's getting over that fear and anxiety and distrust and uncertainty, the not knowing. Um, a lot of people have that. I had it. Mike and I were just talking about this the other day that when he bought his first property, he wanted to, he calls it sharing the fear. So he was afraid to buy his first property. This was like in 1979. So he called up his best friend and said, "Hey, we're going to buy a property. You're going to put this much money down, and this is how much money I'm going to put down. And we're going to buy this property." And they did. And, they still invest together today. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you need to do it, go find somebody else that you feel comfortable with.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Pros podcast. I'm Kristen, and I'm here with Joel Wright, who is a real estate agent and an investor out of Sacramento. He helps investors secure properties in other markets. So we're going to talk a lot about out-of-state investing and kind of the challenges and the ways to navigate that. So thanks for being here, Joel.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
So you have a really unique angle with investing, which I think is so interesting. But I would love to get to the beginning and figure out, how did you get into this industry? What made you fall in love with it?
That's a great question, Kristen. I didn't know I was in love with the industry until I got into it. And I know that sounds stupid, but my grandfather was a builder. I had an uncle that was a builder, another one that was a developer, another one that was a property manager. All of my family on my mother's side was into real estate. And I never thought about it until I was out of college, just got my master's degree about 6 months before, just wandering aimlessly. And my dad took me out to lunch and said, "Hey, why don't you consider real estate?" And,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, oh yeah, duh, that's the, he was an estate planning attorney. He helped real estate syndications get put together and purchase sales and, all kinds of stuff. And so I've been surrounded by real estate all my life, and I never thought about going into real estate once. And
Yeah.
so anyway, that was the start of it.
I feel like some people, when you're surrounded by it, you're almost repelled from it.
I never even thought about it. It just never occurred to me to go into real estate. I didn't see that there was an avenue. And then, when he mentioned it, it's like, oh yeah, I could go into sales. That's so obvious. Duh.
Yeah. So then you've been getting into sales and you've been doing that. And then you've kind of carved out this really cool lane for yourself. How did that all come about? How have you kind of developed that business?
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Yeah, let me go back to the very beginning. So when I started in real estate back in 2000, I wanted two things. I wanted to be the best at what I did, and I wanted to work with real estate investors as a professional. And so I really wanted to understand that real estate niche of what makes real estate, and by this I mean residential real estate, tick. And I didn't, I read all the books the first few years, etc. And I thought, okay, this kind of makes sense, and just gathered knowledge, more knowledge, and more knowledge, etc. And then talking about helping other people invest in real estate, what happened in 2005 was that our market here in Sacramento peaked out, started going down. August of 2005, we were at 392,000 median sales price, and that was as high as it ever gone. And then it started going down from there. So we started going down before the rest of the markets. And because I work with residential investors, from 2004, I really didn't feel comfortable recommending to my investors that they buy in Sacramento because there was no cash flow. You'd have to put 50% down to have any cash flow, but then your ROI on your 50% is just nominal to nothing. And then, after it started going down, I went, well, how long is this going to happen? How long is this going to take before it turns back up? And so, that's an indeterminate amount of time. The previous cycle was 90 to 97. So this could be 7 years. Okay, well, now how do I make a living?
Yeah.
Because about half my clients were investors. So I thought, oh, well, other places make more sense than here. Not everywhere is like in California. And so I started looking and started tracking other markets. I went to Washington State and Oregon and Utah, and I ultimately ended up referring clients to a couple other states. And I went to several more states than that, looking at markets once I kind of ran the numbers. And then I took clients out of state, and then started investing myself in 2007 in Michigan, which, not very opportune time considering it collapsed immediately after that. So I took a big spanking and a very educational group of bludgeonings. Um, now, that was the first cycle. This cycle, I found my partner not too long after that, Mike Goby. And so he'd been working with investors since 1980 and working with REOs a lot. And so we joined forces in about 2017, 2018. And by 2019, we were like, yeah, we gotta take investors outside of California again, because once again, it's too high. It doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of the long form of how I got to what we do now, which is just helping investors buy across the country in a few markets where we think that the returns and risk is lower.
Yeah. Well, more than a few markets. You guys work with 800 cities, right?
Yeah, well, those are the ones we track.
Yeah.
So
That's
we don't refer to all of them. Right now, we only have four cities that we feel comfortable with in two different marketplaces.
okay. What are
And
those 4 cities?
I'm not going to tell you. That's
Oh, okay. Okay. Can't all this
that's
off.
what our clients get to learn. Yeah. Well, great question, though.
Yeah. So how do you go about identifying a good market? What makes a market special?
Yeah, that's a really, really, really good question. And that took me about 20 years to figure out. Because I bought my first property out of state in 2004. I bought in Idaho. And the reason I bought there was because I sold the property. I had money, but I knew it didn't make sense for me to buy in Sacramento. And so I did an exchange, and I just followed my uncle he was taking all his properties. He went up to Idaho. And I realized, there's so many cities. Yeah, I can analyze property, but it's kind of hard to analyze a market. So how do I do that?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
and I just followed my uncle because I didn't know the answer to that question. So in 2006, 7, 8, I was doing a lot of analysis on that, and then the market collapsed. And then back in 2017, 18, I started again and really analyzing, but always thinking about it and always looking at other property because I had property out of state. My family had property out of state. My parents took their property out of state. Um, and so basically, it runs into three different criteria. This is after 20 years of our analyzing markets and trying to figure out, okay, what makes sense and what makes you money and what doesn't make you money. The first one is cash flow. That is how much money do you make on property. Second one is livability, and that ties directly into if you have tenants that are not taking care of your property and are not paying their bills, then that'll kill you as much or more than anything else. And the third one is friction. And so that could be weather friction. It could be governmental friction. Uh, those two are, I think, the biggest. That is laws. Here in California, we have rent control now, which doesn't affect so much the income of rents, but it definitely affects the ability to evict a tenant.
Right.
You end up, during COVID, you couldn't evict a tenant, and some people had tenants that didn't pay for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, California is definitely more tenant-friendly state, one of the
Yeah,
most tenant-friendly states.
yeah.
But I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people, especially people starting out, they hear these generalities of the market's good, the market's bad, but it really is regional. And I would love for you to kind of talk about that and the fact that maybe in some states it isn't a good market, but in other ones it is.
Yes, yes. Okay, that's a great question. I have a great example. The reason I went out of state is because I sold a little single family home, 2 bedroom, 1 bath in California in 2004. I took the money out and I bought a fourplex in Idaho, a brand new fourplex, and I bought it for about 250,000. They're worth over 600,000, so I wish I'd kept it. But then we went through the downturn because then we peaked in 2005. We went down, and in Sacramento market we started going up in January of 2012. Well, I sold that that fourplex in December of 2011. So the month before we bottomed out here in the Sacramento market. Now, over that time, my property in Idaho went up from 250,000 to 283,000. That's what I sold it for. Properties in the Sacramento market went down 68% from the peak to the bottom, the top to the trough. They went down on average. The median price went down 68%, which is huge. So the 200, I don't remember what I sold it for, but let's say 200,000, it went down to like 60,000. And that's when it really clued into me. Markets are not the same because I thought everywhere was very cyclical. And a lot of people throughout the United States, their market's been very stable. Um, I, I, for a long time, I identified the markets as hockey sticks, and the markets seemed okay. So a lot of the Texas markets are hockey sticks. That is, they went up straight and then spiked. A lot of the central states were just kind of straight, leveling up. The New England, they'd go up, they'd stair step, go up and then flat and then up and then flat and up and flat. And then you have the sand states like California, Arizona, Nevada, Florida, which were very much up and down.
Mhm.
And, through the cycle, some of them changed, but most of them kind of stayed the same, except that now sort of all of them are going up and none of them are really going down. So all those cycles have shifted.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great example. I think there's a lot of information being thrown at people with the current market, and a lot of people have some trepidation getting into it. So I think it's really interesting how you're kind of offering this third option, maybe, where it's like, just look at other markets, invest out of state.
Yeah.
What would be some of maybe the challenges that you've seen from people doing remote investing and kind of ways to overcome that, or things just to, you know, keep in mind as you're looking into this?
Yeah, some of the challenges that we've seen is just like buying your first investment property. It's getting over that fear and anxiety and distrust and uncertainty, the not knowing. Um, a lot of people have that. I had it. Mike and I were just talking about this the other day that when he bought his first property, he calls it sharing the fear. So he was afraid to buy his first property. This was like in 1979. So he called up his best friend and said, "Hey, we're going to buy a property. You're going to put this much money down, and this is how much money I'm going to put down, and we're going to buy this property." And they did. And, they still invest together today. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If they did do it, go find somebody else that you feel comfortable with.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Yeah.
Not necessarily somebody, you want somebody who brings something else to the table, something that you don't, whether it's confidence, whether it's experience, whether it's capital, whether it's being able to finance the properties. I have seen fathers and sons go invest in a property. I saw one just 6 months ago here in California where father and son got together, and the son manages it, and the father, they went in, fixed it up, and they're doing he lives in it and rents out the rooms. So the son manages it and the father paid the down payment.
Yeah. Sharing the fear. I like that. Because that
Yeah.
is helpful for some people to kind of just have someone to, be in it with.
Yeah. Over the years, almost all of my investments, up until just the last few years, and I've been doing this 25 years, I've shared the fear with
Yeah.
other people.
Absolutely. And talk about, how you work with investors, kind of what the model is. You help it's kind of, you give out referrals, like you're really with them, helping them kind of identify this market. How do you work with people?
Yeah. So we spent a couple of years identifying markets and figuring out which ones we believe are going to be the best ones. So working with investors, um, we sit down with the investor. I always send it to Mike. My job is the numbers. Mike's job is to work with the people. So end up having a conference call with Mike and just talking about their situation, like what works, what doesn't work, and where they're at, and what they want to do and why they want to do it. And then if it fits, if it makes sense, then we end up referring them out to one of our markets, to an agent that's in that market that we've already qualified, that they already know what is a good investment within that marketplace. They're just not throwing mud at the wall to see what sticks. We've already looked at the markets. We track 800 different cities throughout the United States, 268 metropolitan areas, and we're doing that to find out what's going on with them, and what their crime is, what their we take a lot of the data from the census.
Yeah.
How many people are there? Uh, how can we categorize these areas and compare them all against each other? And they're all different. So that's a really cool thing. That's why it is so difficult, because all these markets are so different. Some of them were, like Northeast, is a lot of it was built in the 1800s and early 1900s. And then you have the Rust Belt in Michigan, where I invested for a while. That's a completely different animal from the South, from Florida, from Texas, from Arizona, from Hawaii. All these markets are different. So
Yeah.
we found what we think is a make sense investment, and that's really buy a good property in a good market that's in good condition, have a good tenant and a good property manager, and then don't screw it up yourself.
Yeah, exactly. The last part is the important part. Don't screw it up yourself. Um, do you ever work with people who are interested in flipping, or do you think that short term, long term is the best way to go about it?
We only do long term, and the reason is anybody can flip in any market. They have to have the right skill set, and so if they can find the properties, then they can flip. They don't need our help.
Yeah.
Uh, and so we don't help people out with that, because really our focus is trying to reduce the risk and get them as prepared as possible for the long-term hold. We look at investment as a 10 plus year hold, 10 to 20 years.
Got it.
And so those are the properties that we want them to have. It's something that's going to be a good long-term hold. They're not going to have to worry about in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's really great working with you because, you're tracking all of these cities, 800 cities. You've identified what you see are like the gold cities, and then you help people find a realtor as well who can help them. Because I feel like there's just so much of that admin that prevents people from even wanting to do it, like doing all the research themselves, finding somebody who's valuable to help them out with all of this. Do you happen to do you know any like property management companies and stuff like that? Do you help people with
Oh,
that?
oh, we always find in any market we go into, if we don't have a good property manager and a good real estate agent, then we don't even go in the market.
Wow, I mean,
We don't
that's so
even
valuable
recommend it.
too.
It's so valuable because you can have a good market, but if you end up with the wrong property in the wrong neighborhood, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
So you have to have the right property and the right neighborhood and the right market. And it's all three of those together. And so you have to have the real estate agent to be able to help choose that. But then if you don't have a good property manager, and I've had some real doozies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been scarred. I've gone through the whipping post.
Mhm.
Been to the whipping post and back. I've lost a property because of property managers. I blame them. It was obviously my fault because I didn't know, but I didn't know what I didn't know, and that's how you learn what you don't know. So yeah, you have to have a good property manager because that's the person who's going to manage it for 10 years. And sometimes the property manager goes bad, and I don't mean that they're bad people. I have a friend who he has lots of properties, and he had half his properties in one city with a property manager, and the property manager retired to let his kids take over. And his kids didn't do nearly the job that he was doing. He was doing a great job, and they were not. And just they didn't have the same experience. They just kind of took over and went, "Oh yeah, this is how we do it." Well, there are good ways to do it, and there are not good ways to do it. So
Right.
that's
Yeah,
super important.
you take out so much of the guesswork for people. Well, this has been awesome. I mean, this has been really interesting to hear how you're working with people and offering this other option for people, when there's a lot of uncertainty about the market, or I guess, just trepidation in general. Tell everyone where to find you, how to work with you, and kind of what types of people you're looking to work with.
We're looking, the type of people that we're looking to work with are really mom and pop investors, just good salt of the earth people who have some capital, they have some cash, they have some credit to be able to buy something. They want to invest in one of the greatest investments there is on earth, which is long-term residential real estate. And the way to connect with us is gobbywright.com. It's Mike's last name and my last name, GOBBIWRIGHT.com. And you can connect with us there. We have our emails and our phone numbers on the website. Just go look at About Us. Um, and
Amazing. That's
that's the best
awesome.
way.
Well, I
So,
really encourage everyone to check Joel out and his business. I feel like it's a really good opportunity for people to expand their portfolio and really get into some markets that maybe you wouldn't have thought of. So thanks so much for being here, Joel.
yeah, thank you. Really appreciate you taking time.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you learned a lot, got some inspiration for your own business, and we'll see you back next time. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.